The letter SAMECH is a circle. A circle is one of the most archetypal of all shapes. And the SAMECH represents all that the circle represents. The idea of surrounding. In Hebrew, the word for surround is sovev, and it begins with a SAMECH. We are told that there are two manifestations of God's presence, as it were. There's one that's called sovev kol olamin, surrounding all worlds, the transcendent nature of God, and malei kol olamin, and the aspect of God that fills all worlds. The SAMECH represents the surrounding energy. On the level of souls, the circle, the SAMECH, represents the idea of reincarnation. In Hebrew, the word for reincarnation is gilgul. A gal means a wheel, a circle. Gilgul is the idea of a circle within a circle. So a circle represents cycles, repeating cycles. And this is the SAMECH as it represents itself in the level of souls. In the world, during many of the letters, we have talked about the idea of cycles and process and repeating archetypes. The SAMECH is the letter that best represents the overall concept of circles and cycles. We see it in the turning of the seasons. We see it in a tree as it goes through its yearly cycle of losing its leaves and new buds and leaves and fruit. All of nature is going through cycles. So from a divine perspective of surrounding all worlds, to the soul perspective of the soul returning again and again as it attempts to finish its rectifications in this world. And all of nature is based on cycles. SAMECH means somech, to support. It's very connected to the shape, because to surround, like a hug, is to support. A lot of times when one wants to give comfort and support to a person, they will give them a hug. It's almost a physical representation of an inner desire to support this person. When a rabbi gives a student ordination, it's called smicha. And in the ancient way, the teacher put his hands on the student's head and, in a sense, surrounds him with his energy and makes him a representative of all that he has learned and wanted to give over to his student. In the Psalm Ashrei, the 145th Psalm, it is written by David HaMelech according to the 22 Hebrew letters. The only one letter is missing, and that's the Nun. As we learned in the previous letter of the Nun is the bent over servant, but also starts the word to fall, nofel. So David, who himself is referred to in the Talmud as bar nafla, as the fallen one, literally the miscarriage, did not want to put in Ashrei, which is a very joyous praise of God, the idea of falling. So he skipped the letter Nun. Yet the next verse is Somech Hashem l'kol hanoflim, that God supports all those who have fallen. So it's a very beautiful connection between the letters Nun and SAMECH. A circle has the aspect that every point on the circle is, in a sense, equal, because there's no above and below. As a circle spins, everyone is an equal distance from the opposite side. Therefore, the sages use the number 60, which is the number of SAMECH, to express the idea of nullification, because an individual point, in a sense, is nullified to the circle. That is one of the secrets of circle dancing in Jewish tradition, is that everyone in the circle feels equal. There's no greater and there's no lesser. Everyone's holding hands, everyone's in it together, and there's a sense of equality and support that one gets. So the sages, when wanting to express how one thing is nullified in another, use the number 60. For example, in the dietary laws, if milk and meat mix together, then the food is not fitting to eat. But if 1/60th or less of milk, for example, falls into a pot of meat, then it could be eaten, because the ratio of 1 to 60, the milk is nullified, the taste of the milk is nullified in the greater 60 parts. And this is continued in many, many expressions of the sages. For example, sleep is called 1/60th of death. Honey is called 1/60th of the manna that fell in the desert. Fire is called 1/60th of Gehenna, hell. Shabbos is called 1/60th of the world to come. And dreams are called 1/60th of prophecy. So the idea of 60 is how one thing is included in another and can also be nullified in another. A good meditation for the letter SAMECH is to feel God's support, God's love and caring for us as we go through this life, and to feel how ultimately we in this world are nullified to God, and the great support that comes from knowing that God cares.